Hello, welcome to J Lowe Artist YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for drawing with me. Today we're going to be drawing with charcoal. We're going to be using white and black charcoal. We're going to be using just a General's charcoal 4B and your soft General's white charcoal as well. We'll be drawing on gray paper. I'm using this XL Canson drawing paper that's kind of just a light gray. Let's get started. You should have a black and white charcoal, a kneaded eraser, and a cotton swab for blending.
So thanks for being here, and thanks for being willing to do something a little new and different. White and black charcoal, it really doesn't matter what brand you use, but the white charcoal is just going to be easier to work with. It's easily erased. You can cover it with the black. So we're going to start with the white charcoal, and you should have your cotton swab because we're going to blend some things. So let's go ahead and start with our white charcoal. And of course, the first thing we want to do is establish the size of everything we need. So we're going to just kind of start out and say, well, I want her head almost to the very top. So, yeah, it is very light. So you may want to start out with just a little line there just to say this is where it's going to go to. And how big is her head? How big do you want it? Maybe about that big. Maybe there's her chin right down in there, which would bring her head somewhere up in this area here. And it may kind of drop down. Here's the part of her shawl. Kind of drops down about right in there. And I'll try to draw a little heavier so you can see what I'm doing. I normally would not draw this heavy. So if that's the top of her head, kind of drops down there. This is part of her shawl that comes down in there, comes up and around. And from here, you just kind of start sketching things in. Remember to use the side of your pencil. This is a lot faster than trying to do it this way. This is slow and less accurate. This is better. About where is that hand? It's about a third of the way up through your page. So if I were to divide my page into thirds, it's probably about up into here somewhere. So I'm just going to block it in. There's the hand. There's no fingers. We're just blocking it in. Just blocking it in. If you wanted to, you can use your white pencil to kind of figure out where everything is going to go in there. And so you can kind of come in and say, well, okay, if that's the top, that's the bottom of her chin, then right in the middle there, somewhere between the top of her head and her chin, somewhere in there is her eyes. Right in here somewhere. There's an eye. I'm just blocking them in. I'm not drawing really anything. Just putting a mark to say this is about where it goes. There's the tip of her nose, top of her lip, bottom lip. And then you just kind of look at it and see it, say, well, is that about right? If it isn't, you can adjust it. There's an eyebrow right there, right up in there. One thing that might help you as well is using your white pencil to get some of the highlights, some of the lightest areas. Those can always be changed. You can always move those. The dark part, if you put in the darks first, those are harder to change. So I'm just going to take my pencil here and I'm just going to put in some of the highlights. I'm not trying to go very dark with this. I just want to block it in so that I look at it and say, okay, that's about right. It helps me to see if my shapes are correct. So then I look at it, I adjust it. I can see where I need to adjust some of this stuff over. Some of it needs to come over. Like I say, this is easy to change. If you don't like it, if it's not in the right place, lots easier to change. If you go right from the tip of her nose, if you go straight over, that's about where her earlobe is. So her earring is going to start right down in there somewhere. You see that kind of coming out a little bit. There's that earring. Once you're happy with what you're getting, then you can switch over and start doing some dark things. The cool thing too is the gray is already done for you. So all that gray that's in there is already done. All we need are the light lights and the dark darks. Everything else in between can kind of take care of itself. And it's the contrast really that's going to make it really pop, make it really come out and look beautiful. So as soon as you feel prepared to do that, you can switch over to the black pencil. And like most of our drawings, we're going to start out very light and just keep layering in until it gets darker and darker and darker. I'm just using the side of my pencil to get some of those preliminary dark shapes in. I'm not going for detail here. Too much, we try to go detail too fast. Then we have to erase everything because it's not in the right place. I know it looks like I'm getting detail in here, but I'm really not. I'm just shading in some of the darkest areas that I see. And I'm not really trying to be concerned too much if it's the right value. I'm concerned if it's the right shape. I can always come back in and smooth it out or change it a little bit. And we're not worried about lines around things. That's another reason that you want to draw like this, is because it's really hard to get a good thick line. My hand's in the wrong place. I need to move it over. Because it's white charcoal, I can easily do that. Nobody will ever know that I made a mistake. And I'm not trying to draw edges to anything. I'm just drawing in the shadows. And when you're done, you'll see the edges. They'll come through. So you can sort of see the hand now, even though I didn't draw lines around it. That's just the outside, just the shapes of the shadows. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my cotton swab and I'm going to just kind of blend some of that. I'm going to try to pick up as much graphite or as much charcoal on my cotton swab that I can draw with it. So, and that will smooth it out. A lot of people say, how do you get it smooth? That's it. You layer it in. And I'm not pressing hard with the charcoal, with the blending the charcoal, just letting the cotton swab do it. It also will soften the edges of that shadow. That's what I want. I want it to get really soft down in there, where those edges are. And if you run out of charcoal on your cotton swab like I was, just go into some of those darker areas, pick some up, and then go back into it. What's most important is the head. So I kind of look over it. Is everything in about the right place? Is everything kind of the way I want it? Can I erase some? No, what do I need to do to fix that? And when you're ready, you can apply more charcoal to get your darker values. I may not want to draw the bridge of her nose. I may want to do that just with my charcoal and my cotton swab. There's a light right here on her chin. Does this bother any of you? Right there. So this is her chin right there, and this is fabric that's caught up in the back. It's a funny little tangent that comes off there. It makes her chin look too big. So I'm going to take this dark that's here and kind of blend it in there to make her that dim chin a little more dominant, not have that light that's right there. Sometimes, even as a photographer, you can't make those choices. You can't do that. But as an artist, you can. So I'm just going to shade that a little bit darker right there so that the chin comes through a little bit more. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. Sometimes you don't get that luxury to be able to change things like that. Now what's really going to make this pop is white on those highlights. So I'm going to try to get all the darks first and really get into those highlights and make them pop. I'll show you what I mean. The cool thing about charcoal is it blends so easily. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my white, and normally I would do this towards the very, very end, but I want to show you kind of what's going to happen here. This is just going to pop. It's going to go crazy with this little bit of white, and you don't need a lot. But I mean, look how that much made that eye just pop. We're going to continue on with that down the bridge of the nose. And you can blend this as well. Tip of the nose. I think it's interesting how just that little bit of white makes a huge difference. I'm just going to blend a little bit of this. This will also take out some of that stark shininess, but you don't have to take it all out. Just a little. Once you get the face done, the rest of it can go pretty darn quick because everybody's looking at the face. They don't really pay attention to all the other little things. Even though if you didn't do them, people would notice it. Are you using a different side of your cotton swab? One side for the white, one side for the black? Okay. Once you load your cotton swab with the charcoal, there's a lot you can do with it. Like right down in here where it gets kind of dark, I can just use the cotton swab. Some of the patterns and things on her shawl, you can use just the cotton swab. You know, when I first went into some of this, I thought it was dark enough. But as you do the light and everything around it, then all of a sudden you're like, it wasn't quite dark enough. So don't be afraid to layer more in. Just is what it is. Now we're getting somewhere. Keep going. If it's not going as dark as you want it to go, try your pencil in a different direction. So like sometimes I'll go up and down, and then other times I'll go sideways, and sometimes I'll have to do both in order to get that much darkness into them. Have you tried erasing the white yet? It's a lot easier than the black. When you're doing all the shadows and everything of her shawl or veil, whatever that is, try thinking about a pattern, and in the shadows, do that pattern. So like coming down here, I'm just going to start trying to figure out this little, and nobody cares if it's in the right place or not. You can blend that, make that into that little bit of pattern. So as I'm going into the shadows of the shawl, I'm trying to put those shadows in the shape of some of those motifs, those little floral type things, because I know I'm going to blend that with my cotton swab, and it'll end up looking kind of like those patterns. And they're just scribbles. I'm just scribbling it in. But remember, nobody cares about the pattern. If you put the nose in the wrong place, then everybody cares. And so you got to kind of keep that in mind. I'm leaving some of this shawl kind of rough so that it gives it that woven look. You don't have to blend it so much that it's smooth. Go ahead and leave it a little rough. Make sure your name's on this. You can take this as far as you want it to go. You can keep layering in. You can do more details to it, a little more contrast to it, whatever you feel like you need. Well, I hope you enjoyed this drawing. Using charcoal is a lot of fun. And I hope you learned something. I hope somewhere down the line this has made your life a little more interesting, a little bit better, because art makes life better.